Well, hello there everyone, and how are you guys today? Well, I am here to talk about astrology today, and well, how was your guys' day and week? I can't wait to talk to you guys about the news and what is going on in the world around us when we talk about the brown round with I and Lady Crone. So look forward to that later on in the week. Oh, and also I have some herbal oracle cards and I'm excited to share them with you guys, and I will open them up on camera and share what I have because I like to talk about trees, and this is about herbs, which is something that grows from the ground and things that you can also use to help heal your body and senses too. Well, today we're going to talk about astrology, and astrology, first off, we had talked about the elements and the modes and how the four elements, fire, air, and earth and water, are all around us and how they interact with us, and how you can describe them as either hot, cold, wet, and dry, and how those four qualities or temperaments interact with each other. But today we're specifically going to be talking about how to visualize your birth chart when you look at it. And this is very important because the natal chart or the birth chart symbolizes who you are on the day you were born. It's a snapshot of the universe at the time you was born. But we will get into that shortly when I talk to you guys about astrology. So, visualizing the birth chart or the natal chart, depending on how you want to reference it, either or, it is all about what's natural to you and what is unique and interesting about you against everybody else, because it's all based on time, as you will find out in this video. So, as I was briefly talking about at the beginning, the birth chart is the map of the planets at the time and location you were born specifically. So let's say you was born today. Okay, let's say somebody was born today. Well, somebody that was born yesterday or the day before or the tomorrow are going to have different planets in different locations, because each planet goes through the birth chart differently at different speeds, and that's why time is really important, because 1 second or 1 minute can make a drastic difference. And this right here is a blank birth chart, and as you see, I'm going to explain the different components of the natal chart. I'm going to interchange the two, but I will try to be consistent with birth chart because that's the one I use the most. And there are 3 specific wheels: the Zodiac Wheel, the House Wheel, and the Aspect Wheel. And I'll be talking about how these all turn and move on a 2-dimensional surface, and then I'm going to bring it into a 3-dimension area or environment. So first, this is the Zodiac Wheel. This is the outside wheel where you'll see Aries. Well, you'll see the symbols for Aries, Libra, Capricorn, all the different signs. And these are broken up into 12 parts because there's 12 zodiac signs. And these appear to move clockwise, which means if you're looking at it right here, if 12 o'clock is right here, you'll be moving across the chart this way. So this is how they move, and they always move in order. If Aries, for example, in astrology, Aries is the first house, which is right here. So then Aries will be here, and then here. Well, what follows after Aries is Taurus, so then Taurus would be here. So you'll never see them out of order. They're always going to appear from Aries to Pisces, so therefore you don't always have to guess, oh, where's my place, because it's going to look different to each person. So therefore it can be confusing and misunderstanding when you're trying to figure out where the planets and houses are located. But when you're learning astrology, this is like the base, and everything has a house and a location, but they also move at the same time, which is talking about transits, which I'll get into way later in the series. But first we have to talk about the basics. And each zodiac sign represents a month, because this represents the path that the sun travels in perspective to the Earth. And this is why we have 12 zodiac signs and why each zodiac sign represents a month. Because it takes the sun exactly 29 days to exactly 30 to 31 days to travel through a sign. So therefore that's why there's, which I'll talk about later, about 30 degrees in a sign, because we are talking about a circle and time also. Moving on to the house bubble, this is where you'll see the houses, and this is the only part of the birth chart that is stationary. But if you're looking at your birth chart, or any chart really, it looks like it's moving because this is where the planets are located, and the planets move in the same direction that the zodiac signs move. So it moves in a clockwise. Again, if a planet was right here, it would appear to be moving in this direction. But the houses themselves move in a counterclockwise position. So this is the first house, then this is the second house, this is the third house, and this is the fourth house. And this is always stationary, so no matter where a planet is, that house is always going to be the 10th house. Right here is always going to be the 10th house, no matter what planet or zodiac sign that is in this house. And that's what's so very important about understanding this. And to go further about looking at this as a two-dimensional, I'll bring this more clearly in a visual aspect when I bring it into 3D and look at it from Earth. But this Earth bubble is like the solar system, and the Zodiac Wheel is like the universe, or like the backdrop, and the planets and sun move across this backdrop, and it appears to move through these different areas that's projected from Earth. So think of like an aura or a bubble. If you're in a like a hamster in a bubble, you're inside. For example, this is Earth. You're inside Earth, and then you have something projected around you that surrounds you, and this is what affects you internally, because this is how the planets move. And in this picture right here at the bottom, this is, if you look at it, this clock is going backwards, counterclockwise. And if you put it where the first house is supposed to be in the natal chart, birth chart, you'll see first house, second house, third house, fourth house, moving all the way to the 12th house. First house, second house, third house, moving all the way to the 12th house. And this is another way of navigating, because this shows you how the Earth rotates. The Earth rotates in this direction, the way the clock is moving this way. That's why everything appears to be moving up this way as we move down this way. And this is also important when we talk about a compass and time, and keeping time as well. So the aspect wheel. This is the center wheel where you see a bunch of lines sticking around everywhere. This is how the planets interact. And if you think about this, this is Earth, as I was saying. If you think about it, you're standing inside something of Earth, physical Earth right here, and have the houses projecting around you. So how they interact, these lines through you, is how these different planets are manifesting their energies that they do when they're interacting with each other. And what is very important, if you're looking at a chart, as you'll see later on in the video, is if there's not a line connecting to a planet, then therefore that planet is not interacting with anything, but it still holds significance. Interactions are very important for degrees, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But when these interactions are happening, these are very significant, because this is what makes your personality. Interactions is like gravity, and gravity is like action and motion, and motion is what gives life. So, how are we going to navigate the birth chart now that we understand how the 3 different wheels, the Zodiac Wheel, which is on the outside turning this way, and the houses, which are in the mid center, but is in a much smaller bubble and is divided, and it doesn't move, but it appears to move in the same direction because it has planets. However, it moves really in this direction. And then you have the inner circle, which doesn't move at all, and it's just stationary and has lines moving through it. However, theoretically it does move, because if this is Earth, this symbolizes how Earth is turning, which is why you see the outer, this is Earth that's turning. This is, sorry, let me use the cursor. This is the sun, this is the Earth right here rotating in this direction. However, it appears stationary, but that's why here, if you look right here, why the houses are moving in that direction, because it's symbolizing how this Earth right here is rotating, and this is why the zodiacs appear to change as the Earth rotates, and this is why the planets also appear to move as the Earth rotates. And this is how we're going to learn to navigate the chart. As I was talking about, the Earth rotates and everything appears to rise in the east, the zodiac signs and the planets. As we turn in this direction, everything appears to rise in the east and set in the west. Therefore, you can figure out where north and south is based on a compass. And this is a fun way for me to remember how a compass is supposed to be read. It's always supposed to go north, east, south, west. And a numeric way I remembered that from school was to never eat soggy waffles. And that's how you're able to tell where north and south is if you're given east and west. Now, why is this very important? Well, these red lines represent the angles. And in the birth chart, there will be very dark lines compared to everything else. And these angles represent significant angles in the chart, because it what divides the chart into a horizontal axis, that means a top half semicircle and a bottom half semicircle, and divide it vertically, so therefore you have one side semicircle and another side that's a semicircle. And these represent different parts and aspects, but all together, if you put it together, now you have 4 different parts. As you see, the chart is broken up into 4 quadrants, which I'm going to be talking about in the next chapter, in the next page. But as you see east, as I talked about, this is also a clock as well. The sun rises about 6 a.m. each day, right? So therefore, east represents 6 a.m. when the sun is starting to rise, or when everything is starting to rise, because everything rises in the east. So therefore the south, now this isn't literal south, it just appears that way. You'll see that the south literally means the direction you're pointing at. But however, in the birth chart, south is directly above your head. This is the mid-horizon, the very top peak of the sky. And this represents 12 or noon. Therefore, the sun sets around 6 p.m. depending on what season of the year we are in. And therefore, this is the west, and where everything starts to set around 6 p.m. And then you have midnight, the very bottom, right underneath you, the bottom of the chart, which would represent starting a new day, and everything is starting over again. So these red parts also represent important angles called the ascending, which means rising, and the descending, which means lowering or going below the horizon, and ascending above the horizon. And then the mid-heavens, which is the very top, and then the IC, which is the ilium coeli, which represents like the very bottom heavens. Over here, we're going to talk a little bit about geometry. Don't worry, this has no math whatsoever. We're just going to be breaking down how to visualize a circle. Now this is very important, because in reality, the birth chart is angled differently. As you saw earlier, the clock is, 12 o'clock is not right here above your head like a clock. As you'll see in the next page too, if you made the 12-hour clock a 24-hour clock. And also Aries starts right here in the birth chart. However, in geometry and in real life, you always start right here in the circle, because this represents your extreme positive. Positive going this way, positive going that way. Therefore, this is positive going this way, negative going that way. and you get the gist. So therefore you're going to be moving in this direction. So therefore, if you really think about it, why does the clock move counterclockwise when really circles are going this way? And if you think about it, depending on how you write, you can actually test this. How do you write your letter A? How do you start your O? Do you start your O like this in a counterclockwise direction? Or do you write your O like this in a clockwise direction? Think about it. These are certain ways you think about how life works out funny like that, and you don't even think about it. And we're also going to be talking about degrees, because this is a circle after all, and there's 360 degrees in a circle. But remember, there's 365 days in a year, which represents, this is what the birth chart represents the path of the sun that it takes within a year, that it takes Earth to rotate around the sun. And it takes the Earth to go around the sun 365 days. So therefore, a circle has 360 degrees, and that's why as you will see in this PowerPoint right here, that a zodiac sign can therefore be divided into 30 degrees if you divide 360 by 12 zodiac signs. That means each zodiac sign has 30 degrees, and 30 degrees make 360 degrees, which makes the entire circle. And this is important when understanding how to learn the time, because as you see, I have these dark lines right here, which represents separating the circles. This is like division. We already talked about a big wheel within a wheel within a wheel. Now we're doing the same thing for a zodiac sign, where now we have 12 zodiac signs, but now we're looking at one specific sign. But now we want to break that one specific sign into 3 parts, which is what these dark lines would represent, 3 different sections, and those are going to represent your minutes later on when I talk about how to represent minutes in a clock. So as you see right here, a 24-hour clock, as I was talking about earlier, there's 30 degrees in a sign, and each of those 30 degrees can be broken up into 3 parts of 10 degrees. And those 10 degrees are represented between 0 and 9. That's the first section, which we will call the first deacon, right here. This represents your start, because if it's rising, therefore this would have to be the beginning of the sign if it's starting to rise. So therefore 0 degrees would be right here, and your 29 degrees, which will represent 30, because 0 represents a transition stage, a whole number, and a resting period as well. So therefore you would start at 0 and end at 9, which is relevant to numerology, because in numerology there is no double digits and there's only numbers 0 to 9. And the second deacon represents 10 to 19 degrees. So right here would be 10 to 19 degrees in any zodiac sign. And then the last 30 degrees, the last 10 of the 30 degrees is 20 to 29 degrees. And if you look on your natal chart, you will see that they will have this number up there at the subscript at the very top corner. And this represents your minutes. And this can be between 0 and 59. Again, 16 minutes. That makes 60 minutes, but you start at 0 seconds or minutes. Well, really it will be 50 minutes. 59 minutes and 59 seconds. However, you're going to start at the 0 and then you're going to end at 59, because 60 is starting all over again and you're back at 0 basically and starting your cycle over again. So this is how you can break down the astrological birth chart and see how it's a clock. And this tells you how many minutes in a planet is into a zodiac sign, while also talking about how far into the zodiac sign it is on that specific given day. Now, there's a difference between there's a difference between the minute and the degree. The minute represents a day, a 24-hour clock, but the zodiac wheel represents an entire year. So therefore, that's why you can look at them differently. Do you want to look at where was this planet at this specific minute of a specific day? Or do you want to look at where was this planet in a specific day of the month of the year? You see the difference? That's what the degree is. And then like the minute is taking it to like the very like atomic level where you're looking at it extremely small and intricate and in more detail. So, as I was talking about quadrants in astrology or in your birth chart, Aries always starts right here in the first quadrant. So therefore this is the first house. So therefore this will be the first quadrant. And as I said, Earth rotates in this direction, and as you saw in the other chart, if the first house was right here, it was moving in this direction. Well, we're still keeping that same energy, and we're continuing to move in this direction. So instead of it being first, second, third, fourth, and now it's first, second, third, fourth, and this orientates the clock in a different perspective. And this clock is the true accurate clock. If this was a 24-hour clock, this is what the clock would look like for the natal chart. Because if you times 3, this would be 6, so this would be 6 a.m. This is when the planets or sun is starting to rise. 6 is now 12, which is noon. Now we're going into analog, which is when you're starting to get into military time and start talking about 13 hours and 14 hours. So if you multiply 9, you're at 18 hours, which each time is now, if you're multiplying by 2, because 12 is half of 24, so you're multiplying each number by 12. So this would be, if this was 12, this would be 1 o'clock, but now it's 2 o'clock. This would be 3 o'clock, but now it's 4 o'clock. This used to be 5 o'clock, but now this is 6 p.m. And then so forth, and now you're down at 12 is now 24, which means you've completed a cycle, and now we're about to start the clock over again and start a new day. So this is what the birth chart looks like in a 24-hour clock, if you orientate it right in the way the birth chart is oriented in a compass. So just to quickly talk about the different quadrants. The first quadrant, which is the start of the zodiac sign, start of the zodiac year, is spring, and this is your first, second, and third house. And then you're going to move into summer, which follows the spring, and this was your third house. So now you're at the fourth, fifth, and sixth house, and you've now covered half a year. So now you're moving on to 3/4 of the year, which is fall, which is where we are now. And you'll see this will represent the 5th, 6th, and 7th house. This will represent the 7th, 8th, and 9th house. And then you move on to the last quarter of the year, which is winter. And this represents the 10th, 11th, and 12th house. And therefore you've completed all 12 zodiac signs in 12 months. And now you're going to start again back at the first house with Aries in the first quadrant. Now, how do you see this in reality? As I said, this is the program called Stellarium, and right here you'll see east, right here where things start to rise. This is right above your head, the sun. Well, it's supposed to be right above your head, but it will appear just like this above your head, just like that. But as you see, you'll see it in 2 different ways, and this varies on what part of the year you're in. This is when it's summer, high noon. When it's starting to get fall and winter, it's going to be lower, so therefore it's going to be closer to the horizon. And that's why the days are a lot shorter in the winter and fall, because the sun is covering a lot less path of the sky during the day than it is during the summer. And the birth chart is looking straight head on to the earth. If you're looking at earth like this, you're standing on earth, as I said. The south of the birth chart, the mid-heavens, is supposed to be straight above your head. So therefore, east is this way, west would be this way, so south would be this way, north would be that way. So that's how you can use your body as a compass and navigate through the physical 3D earth around you if you ever needed to. And another way to do this is because everything rises in the east and sets in the west. So if you wait a few minutes or a couple of hours and notice, and if you're in the same position and notice which way the sun appears to move, you're going to be able to tell if you're facing east or west. And because of this, as I said, it's not going to be directly above your head. It's going to be like at an angle like this to you. So if you're viewing the sun this way, you have to be facing south. As I said, this is east, this is west. North is behind you and south is in front of you. So therefore the sun is always going to be facing this way. So if you want to know if you're facing north, is the sun behind me? Because if the sun's behind me, I'm facing north, because now my east would be here and my west would be here. So my north can be here and my south is now this way. So now east rising, west setting. See? That's how you're able to tell and navigate the world around you. And also, as you see, this tilt represents the way how this represents the ecliptic, which is the path that the sun takes. And this shows you the zodiac signs that the sun passes as it's rotating. However, this light blue line shows you, because Earth isn't truly leveled, it's at a tilt. So this red line would be what the zodiac line looks like in reality, what it looks like on the birth chart, but in reality it would be tilted up to this blue line. So therefore it would be going up and down this way instead of this way. So now that we know how to navigate the birth chart and be able to visualize the birth chart too, let's see how it looks like in real life. This is real time. This is what the planets look like right now. So as you may know, we are currently in Libra. Here's the sun, and if you look, if you look very closely, this blue line is in the sign Libra. And at the time I took this, the sun was just getting ready to set. So where's the moon? The moon is right here in Virgo. And as you see, it's very much below the horizon where I'm currently at. And as you see, this shows you where the planets are at any given time. So what is currently rising on the eastern horizon is the sign Aries. And as you see, these lines are the aspects that are how the planets are interacting with each other, and how they're communicating with each other and manifesting themselves in this physical earth. And as you see, these dark lines, these represent your angle. This is your east to west, your south to north. This is how you're able to read the birth chart. So, the sun, as in a couple of days, we're getting ready to go into Scorpio. So 27 degrees out of 30 degrees, meaning that we're getting ready to end Libra and go into Scorpio. This symbolizes how far we've traveled through Libra. Now, I said the start of Libra would be right here, because if you think about it, this part of Aries had to hit this part first. So this is 0 degrees Aries. As you see, Jupiter is right here as a symbol. And the three main parts to look at when you're looking at a birth chart is what is rising, what is the sun sign, and where the moon is. Because those are the three important parts of the birth chart. And as you see in these lines right here, you see these two lines right here, those will split the zodiac sign to deacons. So therefore you're able to tell this will be 0 to 9 degrees Leo, This would be 10 to 12, 19 degrees Leo, and then this would be 20 to 29 degrees Leo. And you see how you're able to read the chart. And if you look very closely, for example, at the moon right here, you see the moon is 2 degrees in, which means it just started its path going into Virgo, and it is at 59 minutes. That's what that little symbol means up there. And previously I talked about elements and your cardinal, fixed, and mutable, which is your mode. So if you look at your natal chart or your birth chart, C stands for cardinal, F stands for fixed, M stands for mutable, and they will be on the top. And here on the left hand side you will see the 4 elements. Remember, there's 4 elements in 3 modes. So that's how you're able to tell which F or F is which, because this F represents fire while this F represents fixed. So this and these colors also color coded. Red means fire, yellow or orange means air, green means earth, and water means blue. That also is the same for the zodiac signs, and that's how you know what a planet is based on where it's located in the chart. For example, the sun is in Libra, so that is a cardinal air, and here's the sun symbol right here, and it's colored yellow to symbolize that it's an air sign, to help you remember, because Libra is an air sign, and its quality is cardinal because it starts fall. So that's how you're able to understand and locate where in the season and year your planet and zodiac sign is, and how that represent, and how, if you look closely at these little minutes, how far in the day or clock the planet is also. So that is the birth chart and the natal chart, and everything you need to know, and how to visualize everything moving in the birth chart. Briefly, as I said, everything rises in this direction as the earth rotates in this direction, following the way the houses increase in numbers. See, 1, 2, and 3. I hope you enjoyed your astrology lesson, and I hope now you're able to understand your birth chart just a smidgen more. I will be back again to talk about the houses and the zodiac signs, so you can further understand more about how to read the birth chart, because I've only talked about the elements, and now you're seeing how the elements are moving in the chart. And then we're going to talk about how those elements have personalities, and then we're going to talk about how those personalities are expressed when there's a planet present. So thank you for this lesson, and I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you can start reading and learning about yourself. So I will see you guys later, and let's talk about herbal cards. Bye!